I want to show y'all something. This is my second protein shake this morning. Guys, right now I'm down to like what? 347 this morning. Guys, the weight is starting to come down, but most importantly, like I said, guys, it's up to you guys ultimately in your weight loss journey or weight gain journey. It's up to you to conduct your own study and information to make sure what you're doing is right for you. But guys, one thing I learned, one of the biggest mistakes, I'm talking in regards to weightlifting, I learned over the summer when I lost like my first 20 or 30 pounds, I was in a calorie deficit, but I wasn't consuming enough protein. And guys, at that time, I looked at because I use my fitness pal. I think that's actually, hold on, I can tell y'all. Yeah, guys, it's called My Fitness Pal. I've been using that for like the past year or so. And initially, guys, I thought as long as I'm in a calorie deficit, I'm thinking everything else would take care of itself. And guys, this turned into a nightmare. What happened, and I'm talking from my personal experience, what happened was I started to lose weight, but like I started to lose strength too. So like, and guys, like I said, I don't bodybuild, I don't powerlift. I mean, I just lift weights, just for my own exercise and therapy. But like I started to notice weight that typically wouldn't be a struggle for me, I started to struggle. Like I'm talking with like 315 on the bench, 315 on the squat. I'm like, yo, like, I'm like, is something wrong with me? Like, am I doing something wrong? And like, as soon as I started looking into what I'm doing, I'm like, yo, I'm doing at least 10,000 to 15,000 steps a day. I'm like, what am I eating? Am I eating the wrong foods? And like, the more I looked into it, I'm like, yep, I did my own independent study. And I'm like, yeah, I got to make sure I'm consuming the right amount of protein every day. I got to make sure I hit my limits. And like, guys, once I knew what I was doing, I was only at 140 grams of protein per day. At my body weight, the weight is going to come down, but I'm going to lose a bunch of muscle in access to all the fat I'm burning. So like, guys, I mean, it's normal for you to lose, a small amount of muscle if you're in a calorie deficit. But if you're losing a large amount of muscle and that's not the intended purpose, like always look at your protein intake per day. And guys, knowing that, I went up from 140 grams. So I think I'm up to like 194. And guys, within like a good 2 months, everything went back to normal. And now, I'm definitely comfortable being in a calorie deficit, but, I'm maintaining like a core level of strength, and that's what it's about. You want to make sure, you don't want to be a toothpick, like I said, not being able to maintain your own body weight, so. But guys, if you're getting in here, I'm gonna give y'all a couple minutes to get in here. I'm gonna get into episode 28 of GMC Talks. I thought about this customer the other day, and I mean, with this particular customer, the situation went good, but it was another customer after this when we used to do in-house financing in 2017. Guys, I tell y'all the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it's up to you guys to draw your own conclusions and what to do on your own personal journey, And like I said, most importantly, guys, like I said, the more perspectives you guys have to learn from, the less mistakes you make, and it's going to take you less time to bounce back like it took me to bounce back, all the mistakes and, like I said, the bumps in the road I had to go through. But I'm going to give y'all a couple minutes to get in here. Let me turn my Bluetooth off. Hold up. Hold up. All right, cool. All right, my Bluetooth is off. All right, but guys, let's get into it. Let's get into the topic. This was back in, once again, we started the company in 2016. About a year in, that's when, like I said, once we had our standard operating procedures, that's when we started to nail down on, like I said, operational things. And like I said, we wanted to get our feet wet, most importantly in business, so we can navigate to figure out, what type of work was suitable for us and what type of work, we didn't want to deal with. So guys, starting off, like I said, we really didn't say no to a lot of customers. We started driving 2 hours plus a day on every call. And, like I said, it was what it was. It definitely worked out in the long run. But guys, one thing that I tried to do in my head, like I said, how my thought process was, I thought if we offered in-house financing, it would help a lot of customers out. And guys, I'm going to give you the backstory here with this particular customer. I think she was near Atlantic City, if I'm not mistaken. She had a home warranty policy. I think we came out there for a no AC call. She had a bad compressor. This is in 2017. She had a bad compressor, and I think the warranty company denied it for something. I forgot what it was. And I think at that time, did she get a price already? No, she didn't get anything from the warranty company. They denied her claim. And we gave her a quote for replacing the AC unit. At that time in 2016, this is before I knew profit margins. I think I gave her a quote for like, what was it, 7,500? I think it was under 8,000. It was either 6,000 or 7,000. I forgot what the price was in 2016. But guys, make a long story short, I gave her the price, and like her and her husband, they were good people, but she just told me, like, she was like, yeah, I definitely want to go through you guys to get the system replaced, but I don't have the funds right now to get it done. So like, guys, you know, make a long story short, I didn't know what financing was. Like me personally, up to that point, I never financed anything, you know, like growing up. So like, I mean, I knew the gist of financing, but I'm like, you know what? I mean, I'm like, all right, tell you what, I told the customer, let me step out for a second. Let me figure out what I can do here. And she told me, like I said, you know, she only had about like 3,000 like in cash. She was like, you know, she was like, at this point, her credit score would be too low to finance anything. And like, she told me that before I even offered financing to her. And she was like, yeah, like I only had 3,000 down. Like, I mean, if we can work something out, like a payment plan or something like that. But she was like, my credit is like too low right now for finances. So guys, I get to the truck, and once again, I tried a bunch of things. Most of it worked out, some of it didn't. And one of those things that didn't work out is what I'm getting ready to tell you right now. Guys, like I said, I went to the truck and I'm like, you know what, damn, you know, this is a good install. Like at that point, I was like chasing opportunities, you know, blindly. I'm like, damn, like I can't lose this install. So guys, what I did was, I'm like, you know what, fuck it. Let me draft up a written proposal. The most important thing is I had everything in writing. So I drafted up a black and white contract. It says that, you know, the job total is 7,000. She's paying 3,000 down, and I think she was going to pay 500. Was it 500 a month or something like that? It was like 500. It was, guys, it was something similar to that. She didn't pay weekly. She paid monthly. I think she paid like a couple $100 a month. It was like 3,000 down, and it was $5,000 a month. And guys, in theory, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know what? Damn, like this is $500 like cash I'm getting every month. Like this is cool. This can work out. And guys, what ultimately happened was, like I said, like I didn't realize, like I said, there's a purpose for a bank. And guys, I repeat this, there's a purpose for a bank. We are not a bank. The only thing we do is in-home services. Once it gets to the finances, we can give customers, like I said, options for financing, but it's highly recommended for you guys to utilize a third-party finance company. Do not try to do a buddy-buddy system. I don't care what your relation to the customer is. I don't care if it's your relative or if you got, like I said, if the customer, if that's been a long time customer with you, regardless of the personal standpoint, guys, always use your own separate finance company. Make a long story short, guys, once I got like a month or two in, I'm like, you know what, like shit, you know, I got to drive down there to Atlantic City at least, you know, once a month just to pick up money. And like the idea was good, guys, but like once I got like 2 months in, I'm like, yo, like I don't feel like driving down here for this shit. Like, I mean, I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, guys, like, I mean, I'm collecting money, which is good, but I'm like, that 3-hour drive, like total to and from, I'm like, fuck all this. And I'm like, guys, like once it got like 3 months in, I'm like, all right, this can't work out. And like another thing what happened, guys, and this is what made me totally candid. I already knew, like I said, that wasn't gonna be a long-term output, but like a week later, this is before I got the first payment from this customer with the AC install. A week later, we had a no heat call. Well, actually, this is a no AC call, actually, in South Philly. This is this pastor. And I think this is a first time customer. Like, we dealt with a bunch of churches here and there, but with this particular one, this is our first time going there. So guys, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know what? I already got one customer paying $500 a month. I'm like, all right, like, I don't know how many customers I can get, like I said, because I keep in mind, guys, if you finance anything, you have to fork up, like I said, the cost of goods sold up front. What that means is you got to make sure you have enough money in your account to cover everything until, like I said, the payment hits on the back end. So think of it like a line of credit, guys. But think of it like, guys, but listen to this though, right? So I already got that first job down. Like I said, that, you know, AC replacement, that job is done. A week later, I go on another no AC call, and I think this church, they had like 3 or 4 compressors with 3 or 4 rooftop units. They called me for 2 of them not working. I think one was an easy repair, and the other one, the compressor was shot. So And guys, this is back in 2017. This was the R22 compressor. So like I gave the pastor a quote. And guys, this was like a 7.5 ton. This is a big boy, a big compressor. So like I don't know what I quoted him. I know it was at least 5. I forgot what it was. I know it was another $5,000 to $6,000 job. So I'm like, you know what? Tell you what, like I told him what I did the previous week. I'm like, you know what? We offer like in-house financing. The only thing you have to do is sign here and here. You pay half down. On the other half, you can pay in like monthly stipends, like $500 a month. And like, gosh, like I said, this shit turned into a disaster, man. Like, and like I said, at that time it was just me. And I'm like, you know what, man? I'm already going down to Atlantic City to pick this shit up. I'm like, now I got to drive to South Philly. In the back of my mind, guys, I wanted to lock in. For some reason, I thought about like the recurring revenue. I thought that was a good thing. And it is, guys. Recurring revenue is a good thing, but sometimes you gotta step back. You can't be too nearsighted. Like with money, sometimes you gotta step back and think about this. Okay, now is good. You know, you having work locked in and you having, you know, the recurring payment. But step back. How much time are you gonna waste picking this money up? Do I have to pay someone to come? Think about it, guys. I'm like, is it worth my time to come down here every other Saturday, or once, you know, every second Saturday every month to this damn church to pick this money up? Or do I have to pay someone else? Think about it. I might have to pay someone to come pick up money. Like that shit is like that defeats the purpose of picking up money if you got to pay someone else to come down there and go pick it up. And like, guys, once I lock that job down, I'm like, all right, you know, I got good intentions with these customers. I'm trying to help them out, but like, I'm like, this financing, this in-home income financing stuff is not going to work out. So guys, that was my second and last customer ever doing that. And guys, listen to this. The first customer, fast forward, like I said, it took about almost 2 years, and she actually ended up paying a bulk of it down towards the end. That first customer, she actually paid that balance in full. But guys, this fucking church, man, this pastor, like I said, I don't know what church this is, but like I said, if I see it, I don't know exactly which church this was. So guys, listen to this. I think he paid the $3,000 down. He made like 2 payments, and like our arrangement, keyword, our arrangement was, I go down the second Saturday the second Saturday every month. He's gonna write a check, and like that's one hand, like he signed off on that. That was the handshake. We signed off. He agreed to it. I'm like, you sure you want to do this? You sure you agree to the amount? He was like, yeah, hands down, like we can definitely do this amount. As long as it's the second Saturday, it's not the first Saturday of every month. I'm like, all right, if it works for you, it works for me. Gosh, I got like at least 3 months in, guys. No bullshit. I know this motherfucker only paid $1,500. I know he only made 3 payments, guys. This mofo only made 3 payments. In the 4th month, I always call him. I call him like a couple of days in advance. So like if I got to go down there this Saturday, I will call him by Wednesday and let him know like, hey, by the way, I'm gonna come down there. What time would be good for you, so I can come down there and collect the check? He usually say 9 or 10. I called him that whole week. No one's answering the phone. So I'm like, all right. Tell you what, you know, he's busy. Like I said, you know, things happen. So Saturday comes and goes. I don't hear anything. I try calling him again. No answer. I'm like, all right, you know. Once again, I'm gonna give him the grace because, like I said, he always paid on time. I never had a reason to think anything else is going on otherwise. Guys, this got to like next week, the following week. So I'm like, this is the 3rd week of the month, the 3rd month. I'm like, all right, like, hey, leave him on voicemail. Hey, Pastor, this is Andrew. I'm calling you just to confirm the payment. You know, you missed last week. I'm leaving him voicemail. So like, he knows why I'm calling, guys. And sure enough, like I said, he never answered the phone. So like, now, guys, this is the 2nd month now, the 2nd month of no payments. So now I'm like, all right, I might have to pull up on my guy. You know, this is a place of business. I'm not gonna show up there on Sundays because, like I said, that's the Lord's day. I don't want to cause no chaos in the church. But like, I know during the daytime, I know who's there. I think the deacon, it was him and there was another guy that let me in the building to go on the roof. So I know other people was there besides the pastor. So like, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get this guy. Like I said, once again, I don't know if he's out and about or God forbid if something happened to him. I'm like, I'm gonna give him a couple weeks, but I might have to just go through there throughout the weekday during the day. I may have to see what's going on. So guys, once again, I'm 2 months in. Like I said, no money from this guy. I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me just stop by out of good grace, you know, still keeping everything positive. And the pastor wasn't there. I seen one of the the deacon's there. I'm like, yo, deacon, what's going on? I'm like, hey, I tried leaving the pastor a couple voicemails, no payment, yada yada. And then the deacon told me, he was like, yeah, the pastor, he's out wherever he was doing, guys. I don't know if he went on vacation or what, but it was a very convenient vacation. And the deacon was like, yeah, the pastor went away on vacation, yada yada yada. I'm like, all right. I'm like, well, if he goes away, like, he's still on the hook for paying the $500 a month. I'm like, is he the only person that can deal with this, or is there a second point of contact? I'm like, he already signed off saying that he was going to pay this amount on a particular day every month, or on a particular week every month. And the deacon was like, yeah, I'll tell you what, I can make a call, but most likely you're probably gonna have to wait until he gets back. So guys, in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I'm already wasting my time that I can probably be doing other jobs. I'm wasting my time coming down here. And guys, like, instantly, like I said, that already reconfirmed why we are not banks. We're not all that in-house financing shit. That it works in theory, but it never works, like I said, like long term. Because like I said, the fact that you're on the hook for collecting money, like I said, financing for you guys that already do financing, that's between it's up to you to explain the terms and conditions to the customer so they know what they're signing up for, like the terms, the interest rate. And like I said, what other flexible options they may have, maybe zero down for like 12 months, etc. But the fact is, once the customer signs, you're off the hook. You get paid, and now the customer, like I said, that goes between the customer and the finance company. So like, before I knew what that was, guys, now I'm going back to this story. Now I'm 3 months in, no money coming in, like, from this customer. I'm like, all right, like, I hope he's not trying to stick me out for this money. Sure enough, like, finally he calls me back like almost 2 months later. And he was like, yeah, what's good? He hit me with that brother shit. Yeah, what's going on, brother Jew? What's going on? I'm like, hey, what's up, Pastor? So yeah, you're 50. The balance now, it's up to $1,500. He's like, tell you what, I'm just getting back now to my checks and balances. He goes on, tell you what, I can do $500. I'm like, nah, Pastor, but $500 was due 3 months ago. It's 3 months later. Now it's $1,500. I will tell you what, I can definitely do $5, but like the other $1,000, I'm like, Pastor, like, this is not what we signed up for. I'm like, if you think it was going to be an issue, like, that's something that you have to address to me before the issue occurs. I'm like, $500 was what you already agreed to, but now it's past due. Like, he was like, oh, I understand, yada yada. Gosh, like I said, I didn't want to turn this into, like I said, a bigger issue, because technically we got a handwritten agreement. He's not contractually obligated to anything. So like, guys, and this is like some next level shit. Like, I already knew that this dude was a sleazeball, but like, if I would have got upset, he probably never would have paid me anything. So like, I'm like, all right, tell you what can you afford to pay right now? We already 3 months in. I can do the 500. He paid me the 500, guys. I'm like, instantly, I'm like, man, I really didn't want to deal with this guy. Like, and that made me look at churches like in a whole another way. I'm not saying every church is like that, but like this particular one, I didn't want to deal with churches for like another year or two, as far as with, like I said, handling finances. But ultimately, guys, like I said, with that customer, he paid me that $500 that day. And like, I thought about it, guys. I'm like, you know what, man? Like, I don't want to have to fucking hunt this guy down another 2 months for another payment. I just decided to say fuck it. And like I said, like, I just stopped dealing with them. And like, sure enough, and look, guys, think about this. He's in the whole $1,500 after 3 months of not paying. He answers the phone after 3 months, pays me $500. At this point, guys, I cut off contact with him. I'm like, I ain't even say nothing. I'm like, you know what, just write the check out. I wanted to make sure the check cleared before I tell them we're not coming back out there. So like, and that, guys, that's another thing. Make sure the check clears before, like I said, you cut contact off with the customer, because if he would have wrote a bad check, like I said, money talks and bullshit walks. So like, I made sure the check cleared the next day. And like, so I called them back and I'm like, yeah, Pastor, like, this ain't gonna work out. I'm like, you're already $1,500 in the hole. You paid $500 down. Like, I think this is gonna be an issue with you paying this balance off. And I'm like, this is not right, man. Cause like I said, we offer same day service, but like I said, I extended my courtesy, and like, so I knew that you guys didn't have the money up front, but I'm like, I extended my courtesy, and we agreed to, like I said, certain terms and conditions. I try my best to work something out with you. This is not something I do with every customer, but I'm like, I worked out certain terms and conditions, and I'm like, you kind of like, this is not right, because I still have to pay, like I said, I got overhead, I got labor, I still got things I got to pay off, but like, I'm basically taking a hit for things that you can't pay off. I'm like, after the check cleared, I basically told him, I'm like, man, like, what you doing, man? This is not right. But like, he basically says, like, yeah, I understand. Tell you what, give me a month or so. I'll definitely have the full balance off. This motherfucker guy, and like I said, guys, pardon my language. gotta stop cursing because, like I said, YouTube's starting to add yellow checks on my videos. But this mofo, guys, sure enough, he calls me the next month. This is the 4th month, so he still owes $1,500. He still owes 2 months prior, and he owes the following month. This mofo calls me, guys. He goes, yeah, hey Drew, by the way, one of our other AC units went down. I need you to come check it out. I'm like, well, did you forget the last thing we talked about? He was like, no, I still got you. I'm still working on the payment. I'm like, Pastor, you got this wrong, my man. I'm like, if you owe a balance, like I said, that balance has to be rectified before we continue service. This doesn't make any sense. He's like, I understand. I'm like, oh, you gotta get your stuff together, my man. And the grace of God, like I said, you want some bull, you want some BS right now. I'm like, you got to get it together. I can't come back out there if you still owe money. And I'm like, once you pay the balance, that's when we can figure something out. But the balance has to come first. I'm like, and I already told him I didn't want to come back out there, but he called me the following month and said that he had another unit down. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on, like I said, with your internal affairs, but like, you owe dough, my man. Like, you have to pay up, and it's really no other way around it. He's like, I tell you what, give me a couple of days, let me work something out. And guys, instantly after that, I think I had to block his number, guys. Like, mind you, that was in the middle of summer. I had other customers out to deal with. I'm like, I already took the hit for that compressor, guys. Like, I had to rent. I mean, guys, getting to that unit was a pain in the ass. Like, if I would have had pictures of that job, you would have seen why we quoted what we quoted. Like, putting platforms, like, guys, to get up in the attic was, I literally had to put plywood down. Like, it's getting the ladder inside and up on the roof, guys. Like, that job was a pain in the ass. But like, I mean, I took that job on in good faith, assuming that, like I said, that pastor was going to stand behind his word. Once again, I'm not down in every church. Most churches are, like I said, are honest. And like I said, if they can't do something, they should tell you. But like, with this guy, I don't know what his ideology was in regards to how he think it was going to go. But the fact that we laid out terms and conditions and he still didn't do it, guys. So like, I'm 1-1. Well, I'm 1-2 right now with that in-house financing. Before I cut it out, one customer paid in full, but the other customer took his time paying back, guys. And like I said, I had to void that contract. I'm like, you know what? That repair, that one unit that's working there, he got that compressor, damn near half off. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this shit no more. And like, guys, from there, we ended up going with FTL financing. I'm pretty sure most of you guys, if you're in PA or in New Jersey, New York, you probably heard of FTL financing. They're a good company to deal with HVAC contractors. They offer competitive financing. I think the more common option we go with is, I'm talking for customers, the one that we recommend is the 120-month, 10-year option, I believe. They got a million and one different options. They got 0 down, but I think they have the 5-year, which is a 60-month. They got the 84 months, I believe that's a 7-year. And they have the 120, which is the 10-year. But guys, I mean, there's options out there for every customer, but we use FTL. Like, that's just for, I'm shouting them out because, like I said, we've been with them for a long time. But guys, for customers that can't get approved for financing, I'm talking from a contractor end. If they can't get approved for financing, there's really nothing you can do. Money talks and like bullshit walks. You guys know how it works. If you take that personal honest on to like try to work out payments, guys, ultimately you're gonna get kicked in the ball sack, guys. That's the easiest way I can explain it. If you want to be Superman, I've been Superman for many years, guys. I didn't see any money from it. I didn't get any rewards. I didn't get any medals. Only thing I got is pain, guys. Pain and trauma. Like I said, trying to help customers out. Like I said, with that, I'm not a bank, and like I said, I try my best to work with them. We even tried to deal with bad credit financing. I think it's called O'Kennis. Like, and we stopped dealing with them like maybe 4 years ago. But O'Kennis financing, like they take on specifically customers with like bad or challenging credit, but like their interest rates are like astronomical. So like, I mean, I'm not the smartest man in the world, but like even a customer with bad credit, if they see interest rates like down there in the 30s, like they're going to say, wait a minute, shit, I'm paying like, but like I said, once again, a customer will only be in that situation because they have, bad credit. But like O'Kennis have very, very high interest rates. But like, we tried, like I said, doing that, but I'm like, eventually, it's, like I said, it's up to the customer, like I said, to make it work. We're not a bank, I'm not a financial, like I said, guru telling you like exactly what you got to pay out. No, like I can explain basic terms and conditions of the financing. We send you the link, you do the application, and from that point, like I said, I can handle the work that needs to get done. But, as far as your responsibility, you don't pay me, you pay the finance company. That eliminates so much BS, guys. And like I said, everything I'm telling you, man, imagine you guys in my situation. You're a solo person shop. You're running calls. At that point, guys, I still work 6 days a week from time to time, but at that point, I was mandatory 6 days a week. Saturdays, I wasn't getting off till like 7 or 8 o'clock. But guys, imagine me taking time out of my damn Saturday morning when I could have been doing probably more local calls. I'm driving down to Atlantic City to pick up money from one customer. Then I got to drive back to South Philly to try to pick up payment. I got to try to pick up payment from another customer. Like, guys, like, just to think about it, like, it's certainly, like I said, I mean, in theory, I try my best, like I said, to try to help people out. But like, in theory, like, that's not a loan. I can't even give you guys a long term. I can't give you a benefit behind doing that. I can understand maybe it's somebody you'll probably do it for a discounted rate. That's different. But actually doing like some financing like that, it's too much liability and crazy things that can happen down the line, like that you're going to be on the hook for, guys. And like, and that's why, like I said, I have no problem telling you guys my stories, because I know if I did it, I know a billion and one other contractors probably tried to do this. And like I said, they don't talk about their losses. I don't care. Like I said, I'm telling you guys the good and the bad. I don't take many losses, but like I said, I learned from a bunch of things that I tried to do back in the day. And like I said, everything I'm doing now, guys, is just a reflection of, like I said, the choices I made back in the day. Me trying a bunch of things. Now I understand the importance of financing. And like I said, make sure, you have, not every customer you recommend replacement for is going to be able to afford everything in cash. Some people may have to utilize financing, but if they can't utilize financing, you can't harbor that responsibility. But guys, like I said, I got a million and one stories. Financing, that's definitely one of them. Let me look at the comments here. And guys, forgive me with the comments, because like I said, once I get going, I can go off for hours. Shadow Gaming, why am I investing in? Yeah, because I'm talking that shit, man. That's why you invested, brother. I appreciate the comment. Kingo, I'm sorry I just got here. We do HVAC. That's obvious on my page, my man. But we do residential heating and AC. Take on the easy way. I do solar, and I have to get the deactivating fittings for Damn. So King Von, I'm looking at King Cool. I'm looking at what you wrote. You say you do solar, and I have to go deactivate fitting systems for non-payment. Hey, King Cool, hey, if you still in here, what do you mean you have to deactivate the fittings? Like that, I thought if a customer do solar, I mean, they're not paying that off within a year. I thought if a customer do solar, then the payment is locked in. I never knew you got to go back and turn shit off. That's wild. I'm surprised the church didn't have the money. Yeah, I know. The churches are tax exempt. I'm cool with churches being tax exempt, man. But like I said, guys, I'm not putting this on race. I'm not putting this on churches. But every customer, like I said, if something seems sketchy, do not proceed with the work. But like with this customer, I didn't have a reason to think that, I'm talking with the church, I didn't have a reason to think that he couldn't afford the payments. But like I said, I was really pissed off. Imagine you, before I even went out there, I cleared my whole Saturday morning. I think I had like an 8 to 10 and a 10 to 12. I had to push back because I had to go out to South Philly that morning. Imagine me calling them, not answering the phone, and I'm like, dude, this, you're not the only customer I deal with. You gotta be mindful. If something goes wrong, let me know. Don't leave me out in the dark. And I don't think he went on vacation. I think the whole time he was lying. But it's just I don't do business like that. Like I said, some people, I don't know, guys. This may be human nature. Some people might be weird like that. They're scared to tell people bad news. I'm not scared to tell someone bad news. If a customer doesn't have the fucking money, they don't have the money. I don't know. There's nothing I can do about that. Just call us back when you got the money. But the fact that you got to lie, like I said, try to connive, like I said, if I was in a different mind, if I was younger, I probably would have went back there and did something to the unit, guys. But I'm too old for that shit. I'm not. Once I install a part or install a system, that's the customer's property. I'm not getting involved with vandalizing property. But like I said, guys, that's the purpose of financing. If a customer can't make the finance payments, assuming the job is already done, the job has to be done first before the financing start. But if the job is done, the customer can't come back on you and, like I said, say X, Y, Z, but they already knew what the terms and condition was. But guys, like I said, this was me from my adolescent years in business, like this is back in 2017. I mean, I knew what financing is the hard way. Like, and guys, I learned a lot of hard lessons, man. I mean, what y'all see now, the information y'all have, 10 years ago, it might have been out there, but it looked totally different, you know? It might have been from like 1 or 2 people you knew, but like starting off in business, guys, like I had to make, you know, I had to, like I said, scratch and burn. I had to figure out what I had to figure out. But let me look at the comments here. Hold on. We basically hit a disconnect off so the system doesn't produce and lock it off. Oh, you talking about the lease. Damn. Yeah, that's, hey, King Q, that's wild, man. I don't know, how much did they lease it for? Was it 10 years or 20 years? But that, I mean, shit. I mean, but like I said, I mean, that is, I mean, hopefully that incentivizes them to, like I said, to pay off the payments. But like, I mean, that's wild though. Hopefully y'all got paid from that shit. But I don't know. But like I said, what we do, like I said, with residential, we don't get into like commercial financing. I think, guys, with FTO financing, you can finance repairs up to like, the repair has to be a minimum of $1,000, but you can finance residential and commercial replacements up to like 30 or 35,000, I believe. And like I said, guys, I mean, I can only vouch for them because, like I said, we dealt with them for a long time. Maybe other finance companies may have more flexibility with low income, well, with customers with bad credit scores. But like I said, with FTL, like it's very black and white. But the most important thing about the financing, guys, if you guys have a third-party finance company, make sure, like I said, you could communicate, you know, the pros and cons of each and every option to the customer. You don't want to rely on a finance company. Like, say, the last thing you want, and I've seen this happen, not with us, but I've seen this happen a couple years ago with another guy at the supply house. Because like I said, guys, most HVAC companies at supply house, they just talk shit. It is what it is. But this had to be like 5 years ago. This is out in Philly. I ran across this guy who was talking. He was like, yeah, as one of my buddies, he has his own shop. He was like, he offered financing, but he didn't tell the customer like what the deal was up front. I don't know what finance company this was, guys. I don't know, like I said, what the deal was. But he was like, yeah, my buddy, he offered financing, but he didn't go into detail, the interest rate. Like, the only thing he told the customer was like, hey, you know, it's gonna be $500, like hypothetically $500 a month. And the customer, like I said, they needed their system replaced the same day, so they went ahead with it. But the customer didn't know the interest rates was high as hell. I think the interest rates was like down there like 30%. I'm like, in back of my mind, I'm like 30%. I'm like, what the hell? And he was like, yeah, once the customer, like I said, signed up, you know, within, like I said, within a week, once they got that notification from the finance company, like, hey, you know, you're on the hook for, like I said, X amount of dollars with 30% interest. That's when the customer called the contractor back. And like, guys, I'm not saying the contractor is responsible for the financing. I repeat, I'm not saying the contractor is responsible for financing, but you are responsible for breaking down the black and white and making sure the customer know what they're signing up for. Like, and once again, guys, I can't put it fully on the contractor because, like I said, most people should read what they sign before they buy it. I can't give you a scenario in which you should just sign your name on the dotted line and you're good. No, like, I always make sure I over communicate exactly what the terms and conditions are. Give you guys a prime example. If a customer chooses a 120-month option, which is 10 years at a lower interest rate, if you wait 10 years, you will pay it all. I mean, you will pay more interest. But I tell customers like this, and I'll give you guys some jewels with this. If a customer chooses a 10-year option, which is 120 months, if they pay it off in 7, you're not paying all that interest off on the back end. But the good news is 10 years, 120 months, monthly will be way cheaper than paying a 5-year term, which is 60 months. You understand what I'm saying? So like, guys, that is something I like explaining to customers. Like, I say that all the time. Once again, it's up to them if they want to do it. If they can afford to pay off, you know, 10,000 or 15,000, 20,000, if they can afford to pay that off in 5 years, great. But if they want to use 10 years and then pay it off in half the time, at least you have lower payments, but the access, you know, money that you have, if you want, you know, if you have it, you can throw it into it. That's only going to shrink that 10 years down to 5 years. So like, and guys, I mean, when I'm telling you it's common knowledge, but like I said, I don't like deceiving customers. Like I said, you know, it's on them what they want to pick, but you want to make it, like I said, affordable for one. You know, I don't know anyone that's going to, you know, pick a finance option that's going to stretch their budget. I mean, I'm thinking of like zero down. I think 0 down 6 months is like a common option too. But like a customer needs to know if they choose 0 down 6 months, and if something happens, if they can't pay it off in 6 months, now they're paying an interest from day one up until 6 months on top of the balance. I've seen that happen before, and like, That's why, like I said, guys, like that's why you're there, is just to educate them. But once the customer picks an option and like I said, the work gets done, that's between the finance company and the customer. That has nothing to do with you, because at that point you're under the impression that the customer already knows, like I said, what they pick, and it's on them to, like I said, I don't know if once they sign the contract, I don't know if they can change terms, unless, like I said, they pay more money down. Like, but I don't know. Like, I don't know the logistics behind changing it. Like, I never had, knock on wood, I never had a customer do that to me. I just always, like I said, over educate, like I said, over explain things in black and white. Once the customer understands it, I mean, it's all, I never had an issue. But like I said, that guy at the supply house, I don't know. Maybe he used, like I said, he used that zip line service technique, or sales technique, and like I said, he tried to get to sell as quickly as he can. But like I said, once that customer realized, like I said, the terms wasn't really what they thought it was, and maybe something got misunderstood, that customer, like I said, that customer wasn't happy with that contract. I don't know what happened, but hopefully everything worked out for the best. My company does 15 to 20 year lease. Yeah, I mean, hey, King Cool, my thing is this, that 15 to 20 year lease, I'm assuming if the customer has bad credit, there's nothing y'all can do with them. But like, if you're doing a 15 to 20 year lease, the payment should be low as hell, or lower than normal, because like our highest term is 10 years, 120 months. And like, I can tell you right now, on average, your payments are going to be, I'm talking monthly, it's going to be like maybe less than $200 a month, like damn near cell phone bill. So like, someone that's like defaulting on a 15 to 20 year lease, I mean, once again, I don't know, like with higher amounts, it could be more than $200, but like, I mean, shit. I mean, here's my thing though, King Cool, like things do happen, and that's one thing we can't be insensitive to it. Like I said, a customer could have a good job for 10 years, they get one of those solar things, and shit goes left. I mean, shit does happen in life. You get what I'm saying? So like, I can't say, I can't tell you what they can and can't afford, but like, but yeah. I mean, like I said, but it's with financing, like I said, I always like helping customers game plan how they're going to pay it off. Like not like extensively, but like I always say, like if you pick a longer term and pay it off in less time, theoretically you should have lower payments. But if you pay it off in time, knowing that you can pay more than that, that's only going to help you out. But like I said, guys, financing is simple. Just pick a company that's easy to deal with. Like I said, FTL wasn't our first financing company. We dealt with like many other companies, and like I said, it got to a point where it wasn't really flexible. Like I think the term, this is back in like 2017, 2018, it was a different company. I forgot the name of it. It wasn't O'Kennis, it wasn't FTL, but it was another one. And like their terms was only up to like 5 years. And like we had, like I said, this is a bad situation to be in. Like you work hard to get the sales lead, and the customer wants to use your company, but once they ask you, they're like, hey, well, tell you what, I mean, instead of 5 years, is there a longer option? And like we step outside, we tell the customer, give me 5 seconds, and we call the finance company. We call finance companies, and they tell you, hey, we can't do past 5 years. I mean, you're going to lose money. And like say, it could just be that simple. I'm not saying like say every customer can afford a 5-year option, but that 10 years only there. That 10-year option is only there to help the customer out, especially like I said, in the jam. Like I said, once they see those low monthly payments, the interest rate sometimes doesn't matter, because if they can pay down more, then like I said, the monthly balance is only going to shrink the balance of the loan. So, but yeah, guys, like I said, I had to learn that out the hard way. As far as dealing with these in-house finance, like I said, I wanted to say, do any of you guys know anybody that did in-house financing? But I don't think too many people that do in-house financing, I don't think they're proud to like admit that shit, because like you're gonna get finessed, man. It's just, it is what it is, guys. Like you got to try your best. If you're going through a bad situation or a good situation, try your best to extract as much as you can from it, learn from it, and like I said, just cover your ass, because I damn sure wasn't covering my ass. I was just that happy-go-lucky, like I said, business owner. Once I got a year in, and, I got away from these home warranty companies, I was just happy to do installs, but I didn't realize, like I said, doing installs or doing jobs past a certain amount, you need to have finance. And like, most Americans are not going to have $30,000 in their account saved up just specifically for HVAC, at least not the customers I know of. So like now, you need to have flexibility as, like I said, service providers. Make sure, like I said, you're explaining options and you're communicating with customers, in black and white. Make sure they know what you're talking about. Don't leave any stone unturned. And also, like I said, you guys are doing system replacements. Make sure you're out there, like I said, providing financing, because like I said, if you're not, you're going to lose money if that customer, like I said, could afford financing. Some customers do ask you about it, but it's up to you to mention it, especially with jobs over a certain amount. I never had a customer finance a repair. All our financing comes from system replacements. But like I said, I think the last job that was financed, I think it was 2 rooftop units. This is like a commercial / residential building. The highest job we financed, I think that was like 27,000, 28,000. That was a couple years back. But like I said, the customer knew exactly what the terms and condition was. And, I'm glad we had FTL, like I said, in our back pocket. Dealing with them is easy. Like I said, guys, once again, once we pick something good, we don't really switch it up. If it's not broke, we don't fix it. So like, I don't know if there's other if there's other financial, like say, institutions out there similar to FTL. But like I said, if you guys have a financing company that works for you, go with it. But make sure, like I said, you guys utilize it, to your fullest extent. And like I said, you can't really go wrong with that. But guys, I'm about to get up out of here. I just wanted to chat with y'all for a little bit. Let me look at the last couple comments. I mean, if you own a house, you should know how much. Yeah, King Coop, not really, man. I used to think that too. Like I said, like I said, it's amazing sometimes what you see. Like, and I mentioned this in like previous videos, man. Sometimes you don't know how crazy something is until you see it firsthand. Like, I really don't know how some customers, like I said, this is nothing personal. This is just, I'm only telling you based on what I see. But it's amazing how some customers, like I said, be in the house for 10 years and not know what the longevity of a part is. Not knowing, past a certain amount of time, a water heater could leak. Past a certain amount of time, the AC unit could break. And then you come out as a service provider, you do your due diligence to explain this to them. And now, in a way, they're mad at you because they don't like, and I'm like, and like I said, guys, always separate your emotions from your work. Like I said, they could be mad at the situation that now they have to pay more than what they expected to pay. But like, guys, like I said, we deal with machines. Anything with electricity flowing through it, any machine does have the capability of breaking, even with maintenance. There's really nothing you can do. That's why manufacturers put expected lifespans on every heat or AC system. With proper maintenance, it could lower the possibility of breakdowns, but breakdowns do happen. And of course, breakdowns always happens at the customer's inconvenience. A breakdown is not going to happen on a heater in the summer. And right now, it's 20 degrees outside. The AC is not going to break down. It's always going to break down when the system is under a load. So like, but like I said, guys, a lot of customers really don't know. And I used to think about this. I used to think about a bunch of crazy shit. Like when I was a maintenance tech, like one thing I used to think about, this is my last topic here before I let y'all go. I used to think about it like this. I'm like, yo, like, what if every customer got maintenance done and every customer was proactive? Like, will there still be a need for business? And like, I used to think about it, guys. I used to think about crazy shit like that, like different dynamics. And I'm like, if every customer, like I said, just got things done ahead of time, it was no snowball effects. It wasn't like said some Band-Aid shit that like turned into compressors blowing up. Like, what would how would that world look? And like instantly, guys, I'm like, you know what? That's almost impossible because like not every customer says no for the same reason. Like some customers just don't have the money, and like I said, some customers maybe think they can do it themselves, or they have a cousin or a relative that can do it themselves. All that is fine, but like not every customer has it like in the bucket to do every job right then and there. So like ultimately, guys, and I hate to say it, that's the reason why we stay in business, because not every customer can do maintenance. Not every customer know about maintenance. That keeps us around because like for every, and I hate to say this once again, but I got to keep it real with y'all. For every proactive customer, there's going to be at least 50 customers that just wing it. And like I said, they deal with it as they go along. And like I said, once again, we give customers options. We let them choose what they want to do, but there's always going to be more to pay down the line by letting things snowball into a bigger issue. And I mean, I'm gonna drive this point home until, like I said, until the cows come home, guys. But you guys should know, if you guys are out there providing service, make sure, like I said, if you're doing any preventative service, educate customers, and the customers don't pay a dime. You're just having a conversation with them. You're not selling them on something. You're just educating them, because guys, like I know, once things starts to break down, it's already too late to talk about maintenance. Now you can't have a maintenance on something that's not working. Now the customer's gonna have to figure out how much it's gonna cost to fix it or replace it. And like now the cycle starts again. Now since they know about it, at that point, that's when, like I say, you have to, re-educate them again. Or at that point, they should already know, like, oh, tell you what, my compressor just went out due to, me not getting a capacitor replaced last year. With this new system, all right, now I'm about to stay on top of it. And like, guys, this is like a never-ending cycle. For every one customer that has that enlightenment, that has like that sense of like, okay, let me just make sure that, like I said, my system works when I need it to. For every customer that thinks like that, there's going to be 50 to 100 that, like I said, probably don't care, or maybe, they don't have it, but like, that's what keeps us in business, guys. And like, that's why you'll never run out of work. HVAC isn't going anywhere. Just make sure you can do your due diligence. Make sure you got all your tools, meaning you know what you got to say when you get to a customer's house. You got financing for jobs over a certain amount. And like I said, guys, all this shit is entertainment. I'm just having fun with it, guys. And like I said, make sure you guys got a phone to record your endeavors, and you can do what I do, guys. I'm just winging it and swinging it by the bucket, guys. You know how it go. But guys, I got to get up out of here. But keep rocking. I just put out a service call, like I said, an hour or so ago. I think that was an in and out call. It wasn't really nothing going on there. I think the guy said he was going to get his cousin to do a circulator pump, but hats off to him. If he can do it, cool. If not, then, we're going to go back to square one. But that tenant was pissed off. I know why I didn't want to, guys, I didn't want to put this on camera, but like, guys, listen to this. When I was in the basement, that same call I put up a couple hours ago, I forgot what the name of it was. I think it was a quick diagnosis or something, or easy diagnosis. But guys, look, as soon as I went down the basement, I called the landlord, and then the landlord, I think he was in a meeting or something like that. Like, he's one of those landlords, like I said, you got to get in contact with him. You got to get the payment up front, because like, otherwise you're never going to get in contact with him. So guys, I'm calling this landlord like 5 times. Afterwards, that's when I heard the tenant. She came downstairs in the basement. She goes, yeah, you know what's going on? I'm like, yeah, the circulator pump in the boiler is bad. And I'm like, I tried to call the landlord. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to get done today, because I'm calling this landlord. He's not answering. That's when she was like, he's like a slumlord. Like, he did something like this with another tenant. And I'm like, I heard it, but I kind of like didn't want to get into it. I'm like, the only thing I care about is getting the payment for the job, and I can get you up and going, like, really. But like, she tried calling the landlord, and like, she leaving them voicemails, like cursing them out. And I'm like, shit, here we go again. And that's what led to, like, the second part of that video. But guys, I mean, at this point, this is another thing, right? This made me realize, I didn't know this, right? Someone mentioned this in one of the forums a couple years ago. They said, let's say if you go out to a no heat call, right? And this is a landlord-tenant situation. Let's say if you recommend replacing the thermostat, right, for $100, hypothetically speaking. Let's say if the tenant say, you know what, fuck it. If the landlord isn't picking up, I'm going to pay for it. Don't you know, I think this could vary in certain states, but don't you know, if you collect money for the tenant to make a repair without the landlord knowing, you can be held liable. I think it's some type of criminal charge. Like, I never knew this, but like, I always thought in the back of my mind, I'm like, look, if the tenant wants to get heat and they're willing to pay whatever, like, I mean, I'm here to provide a service. Like, I mean, what am I supposed to do? Say no? But if I collect payment and I do that repair without the property owner knowing, the property owner could sue me. And like, this never happened to anyone I know. I seen this on the forum, and the guy, like, this happened to someone like on the other side of the United States. And I'm like, yo, like, damn, like, I never knew a landlord can sue you for a tenant paying you for a job. I'm like, shit does happen. Like, if you get that one landlord, like I said, that's a pain in the ass, that knows his legalities, he could take you to the cleaners, man. For that $100 thermostat, you could be stuck paying $10,000. Like, I'm telling you, that's kind of like knowing the dynamic, like understanding the dynamics between landlords and tenants. Like I said, like, you always gonna be stuck in the middle. Not every landlord-tenant relationship is gonna be great, but don't interject yourself in between the two. Understand why you're there, and like I said, I let the tenant vent, but I'm like, man, I mean, yeah, the only thing I can do is call him, but if he's not paying, then like, there's really nothing I can do. And like, she was really upset, like I said, and I'm like, shit. I mean, that's the lay of the land. He has to drop the payment, but guys, I packed my tool bag up and I got the fuck up out of there. And like I said, he called me back the next day and said that, yeah, my cousin said he can do that for $200. And I'm like, I don't know if he was understand. I don't know if he was expecting a lower price. But I'm like, all right, well, if he can do it for $200, why not have him come out here to do it instead of calling us? And then, like I said, I got the quiet response on the phone. I'm like, all right, yep, this guy's a price shopper or whatever the case is, but it's no malice. Like I said, do what works for you, but I'm not wasting my time here. And like, I hope, like I said, I hope none of you guys is his cousin going out there doing circulator pumps for $200. But guys, I'm not gonna knock nobody hustle. Like I said, if that's your forte, handle your scandal, man. Like I said, have fun with what you do. But gosh, I'm at a different level than I was at, like I said, 10 years ago, man. I wish I can do half the stuff I did, like I said, in 2016 for the same price. But guys, business doesn't work that way, man, you know. But guys, I'm almost an hour in, 49 minutes. But it was good chatting with y'all, guys. I got a bunch of different topics to go over. Like I said, I just can't put them all in one video, or I'm gonna be out here for like 8 hours. But like I said, guys, doing financing, just to encapsulate all this, everything I'm telling you, make sure you have your own finance company, especially if you guys are doing system replacements. Now, of course, you know, you need a business license, like I said, to offer financing. So assuming you guys got your own shops, make sure you guys aren't doing in-house financing. I don't care if it's $100, I don't care if it's $200, I don't care if it's $1,000, guys. If, like I said, you don't use a third-party institution, you're gonna be held liable for the customer backing out and doing some funny stuff. So it happened to me, guys. Like I said, you know, I got good intentions and I was playing this business game long term. You know, I was really upset, like I said, you know, when he didn't pay that money down, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have many other customers, and like I said, I hope that, you know, that church go bankruptcy for not paying up. So like, I never went back there again or anywhere near it. So I don't know if that same pastor's there, but how that mofo was operating, like I said, I highly doubt, you know, unless he was taking $500 offerings from all the people that went there. Guys, that's another topic though. I ain't gonna get into that, but like I said, it is what it is, guys. I made it through to see another day. But keep rocking and rolling, guys. I gotta get up out of here. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.